Well, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to another Financial Fridays. And I am your host, Dr. A.D. Burns. And with me is the financial guru, James Jones. How you doing, James?
I'm doing good, everybody.
Well,
That's
listen,
nice.
I missed y'all last week. I was out of town at a conference, but I peeked in every now and then to see what y'all were doing to make sure y'all wasn't taking over my show. And and it was the parts I saw was excellent, excellent. Minister Brumfield did an excellent job hosting, and you, as always, did an excellent job. And when I got back to town, I had a couple of people ask me a few questions, like they thought I was on with them. I wasn't on enough to know, but they was ranting and raving about a chart and something else you did. Give me a recap of last week, what you all talked about.
So the recap was the final pieces of the puzzle, because I know we talked about the 10 and the 40, but we talked about the last two. The last two consist of the acceleration, which is used to accelerate where you are to where you want to be. Is used to paying off your debts, paying down your credit cards, paying down your loans, and that's your acceleration. We went over that. And then we went over, just for sanity purposes, how do you use your money to make sure you keep your sanity? Because even though we're going down to 40%, you still want to have money for leisure and for fun and for those activities. After that, we talked about what the gift was. Because most of the time, when someone learns something, they always want to be presented with a gift, because the gift represents, or it closes out the end of learning. Even though we're still learning more, I want to make sure everybody understood that the gift is the race. And then we went into the different slide points on different income amounts. And then I presented the budget planner, the sheet with all the information that they could play with. And I tried to engage in everybody and putting in different numbers so we can see how all the numbers trickle out.
Okay, all right, that was exciting. That was exciting. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it. I haven't had a chance to go back and watch it. I hit the ground running when I got back, and
Yeah.
I had made commitments, verbal commitments to write some books, and one for our volunteer celebration. And so I've been diving into that, so I haven't had a chance to go back and watch it. But I'm telling you, this has been a very powerful Financial Friday. It's been very powerful for me. I know it has, because I've learned a lot. I thought I knew a lot, and I thought I knew kind of where I was going and what I was doing. But this really helped me to hone in on, how I see money now. And one of the biggest takeaways for me was the the idea of giving your money an assignment, or it'll just sit there or go do something else. You know what I mean? You'll use it for something else, and giving your money assignment, that's been huge to me. That's been really major to me, because I've had these visions and dreams about and desires about doing certain things or buying certain things, and then I'll get money and put money up, but then the money dwindles away on different things, whether it's bills or whatever. And now I see, because it didn't have an assignment, it was easily persuaded to go do other things. Can you talk a little
Yes.
bit about that?
Oh, yes. That's the number one rule to get so many people in trouble, is that whenever you doing anything you're doing, anything you put your mind to, anything in which you attempt to do, you do it with a purpose. Money is no different, because it's the currency we use in order to get what we need. So when we frivolously have money and we spend money, you'll find yourself losing a lot more money than what you may hope. But by being diligent about what you're doing and putting those things into play on a regular basis and being conscious of it, that by being conscious, you won't run out and spend $15 here or $10 here. You're conscious, like, I know this money is doing what I need it to do. I like how you say assignment, because I look at it as, what is your money slotted to do? I think a better way to put it is, what is your money assigned to do? And by doing that, by having money on assignment, when we send it out, we're expecting a return based on what we assigned it to do. So I think and believe that as we perceive what God is telling us, and as we start checking out what is being done, if we just become more cognitively aware of what is happening with our money, we have a better starting point, and we have a better idea, and we can have a better plan in place to see what our money is assigned to do.
Okay, all right. That's very good. Now some of the challenges that I run into, and I'm saying this, one, being transparent, and two, because if I face some of those things, somebody out in our audience may be facing some similar things. And so one of the challenges that I face is, and I think budgeting may be the answer to it, is when I do put money up on the side in purpose not to mess with it, in some way, somehow this will come up or that'll come up. And then that's the first place I go for, the answer to that. Do that make sense?
Yes.
And then
Yes.
after, it only takes a few times, and then now when you was almost where you wanted to be, and then now you're almost starting all over. And so I would play like a ping pong game. I would go back and forth. I'll save up to a certain place, and I say, I'm not going to touch that, and that's going to, I'm going to let that sit there, and then eventually, something good reason things. I ain't saying just go blow it on something. I'm talking about things that are justifiable, if you will. Do that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Tell me what your thoughts are.
Okay. The road to success isn't a straight line. It's a bumpy road. It got hills, it got valleys, it has many things that happen along the way. So I do hear that we have these obstacles. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing I got this money set aside, and then I hit an obstacle. That's okay, because life happens. The system is already set up to hit these obstacles, because what we want to make sure is that we're stable. And that's why I was so intentional about making sure that we understand that 60% of our income goes to us living, goes to our taxes, and goes to our God. By making sure that out of 60%, we have the stability that we need in order to pursue our future. So when we are hit with those unfortunate events that happen in life, or our life events, we have a cushion that won't mess with or jeopardize our stability. And that was the biggest thing that I wanted everyone to go away with, is that we need, as a people, as a culture, as people who are financially literate, to understand that we can't keep doing what we have been doing in the past to get a different result. If we focus on making sure that we're stable, and then you got the movies, and then you got the outside life events, and then you got the sweets, and then you got your investments in yourself, then you got your sanity. All those things happen after the stability part. We got to be stable first and then go. So when it comes to life events, and we have a lot of life events. I come from a big family. We have tons of life events that happen. As you get hit with life events, it's not going to bottom you out to zero. It may take you down under $100. It may take you down to $100. But after you're done with that life event, replenish what you got going on. Keep going. You got to go forward, because as you do this, your discipline kicks in. And as your discipline kicks in, then you will start amassing the amount that you're looking for. And then when another life event happens, you will still have that cushion before it hits the wall of stability, you still have a cushion. And that's what we need to make sure that we're putting in place is the cushion. And so I understand life events is just we have to have a cushion, because once you breach the wall of stability, then that's when your bills aren't being paid.
Mhm.
That's when you start falling behind, and that's when you put a lot more stress on yourself because you can't afford certain items that you used to afford. So we got to be disciplined about being stable and then going from stability into our investments in our future.
So you saying in part that life happens, and so that's not a bad thing when you have to go over to this source to legitimately take care of a life event. And then after that life event is over, then you go back to stacking, and at some point discipline will kick in, and you'll be able to find yourself balancing everything out. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We have to make sure that we're focused on being disciplined about putting our money to use. Because by doing that, we are building the stability that we need. And that's the biggest point. It's also our biggest problem. When we was talking about it, I mean, in the beginning, when we just hit the 40% rule or the 40% target, when we hit that, it was so much pushback because people were living outside of their means, but they was living outside of any event that could possibly happen. Some of our brothers and sisters was living at 70%. They was living at 90%. Some was living at 100%. And although they had their own personal reasons why they was living at such a high rate, it doesn't preclude the fact that any life event, anything catastrophic would take them under.
Mm.
And that's the thing that we must understand, is that if we don't reduce the amount of money in which we spend as a regular everyday occurrence, when we do hit a life event, we will be taken out. And that's why I said these are targets in which we all must shoot for. Because if we're all shooting for similar targets, then you're not at 100, now you're at 90. And if you're disciplined enough, you're either increasing your income through your investments in yourself, through investments in other products, or producing other streams of income. Or you're reducing the amount that it takes for you and your family to live off of. Either you can raise your income or reduce your debt. And what we was going over and what I was stressing is these are the options in which everyone has. But by being mindful, we can do a better job at understanding these things and moving forward in these things.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Now that's very good. That's very good, because oftentimes, prior to Financial Fridays, when people would come to me with financial challenges, my advice would be either you have to increase your income or decrease your living as far as your expenses. And that was, it might have sounded like I was a genius, but that was the extent of my financial wisdom. I know if you didn't have enough money to meet your bills, then you either need to bring in some more money, or you need to, decide what things you can live without. Unfortunately, what I've seen is people would bring in more money and still be at the same place. And so they were bringing more money in, but they still didn't have a strategy of planning to save. And so they will begin to live off even more money. And so then you will see them either go buy a newer car, or you'll see them begin to have designer in things, and you'll see that they look like they came into a windfall, but what they would be doing was sealing themselves in this mindset that everything comes in need to go out. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so when
Yes,
you talk about discipline and money having an assignment and being able to understand from a realistic standpoint that life is going to happen. You know, I tell people all the time there's a day coming in all of our lives that we didn't see coming, and it's going to take everything we have and some to make it through that event, whether it's the death of a loved one, whether it's a doctor's report, whether it's a career change. You know, there's some life event that is going to happen that we're not going to have any say in, you know, as far as it happening or not. And in most cases, listening to you today, if we don't have a disciplined regiment of stacking money, whether it be emergency fund or to some degree, when that life event happens, it's going to take us under.
yes,
Yeah.
I am in full agreement with you, because let's say it's not negative. Let's say you have a life event that's not negative. Your mother, for many years, has been living by herself, and now she made it to a place in her age where she do need assistance, and she do needs to stay with you, or financially she needs someone to assist her every single day. I think that's a good thing that my parent will live to a time that, yeah, hey babe, I need to stay with you. That's a good celebration, but at the same time, now we need to have financially the ability to afford to have my mom stay with us. Even on my best day, and I do love my mom, if I'm at 100% before she moves in,
Mm-hmm.
another mouth to feed, more electricity, more gas, more dependability falls on me. So even though I love my mom, I may be like, I can do it, knowing in the back of my mind I can't afford to have my mom there.
Yeah.
I love her to death. I love my mom to death, and I do everything for her. But then we get to a situation where she hit an age where she may need some assistance. I can't afford the assistance for her, and on top of that, I can't necessarily afford her to stay in the house with me and my family.
Mm-hmm.
That's a heartbreaking thing. So before we get to that point, if we all are old enough to look out and say, I'm not 10 years old, I'm 20, some are 30, others are 40, some are 50. And if you live long enough, you know that life happens. Just if you live long enough. There's some people that made it to 10 and they can tell you a whole breadth of life that has happened to them. Some people made it to 60 and they can tell you throughout many generations of their lives that life has happened that they didn't anticipate. What I would like people to understand is plan for it. If we just plan for it, if we just use the wisdom that God gave us and say something will happen. I've been on the earth until tomorrow, something just may happen.
Yeah.
It just may happen. And as we do that, just that knowledge, we can grow from there. And that's the biggest takeaway about making sure you have that additional income. Because kids go to college,
Right.
kids go to college, kids go to school. You may need a new car, your car may break down. All of these are expenses that if we don't plan for, they'll take us under. I mean, a regular car going to it is $1,000 deductible. Some people don't have $1,000 deductible to put towards their vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
They need their vehicle to go to work, but they don't have the $1,000. Or it may be a $500 deductible. But if you're at 100% of your income, how do you count for an additional $500 going out of your regular account just to pay for your vehicle? Because you're not working while your vehicle's in the shop, or you're making do. So you got to account for that $500. In hindsight, the good thing is, for those who do account, for those who understand that life will happen,
Mm-hmm.
they tend to be well more stable. And the reason for it is because I don't have to put up that additional stress of living paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
I don't got to put up that additional stress of saying if one thing happened, we're going under. If one thing falls out of place, we're going under. And I think that additional stress equates to how we talk to each other, how we perceive each other, how we talk to our kids, how we talk to our friends. But if we can get past that stress level, then we can say, cool, I can see that investment happening. I can see, okay, my car may break down, but I can handle that. I can handle my mother. I can handle my kids. I can handle what life has to offer because it all rolls downhill. And if we just prepare for the hill, we can anticipate what's going to happen, and we can be more successful as it comes down.
Okay. And so some kind of way, maybe next week, what we could do is try to get people the feedback to really try to see where they are, because, I think the things that you're asking through the teaching is doable. And I think we just have to really make up our mind that we want to be successful when it comes to our money, because short term, giving up things now for a better tomorrow, is not as hard as people think it is, and I do get it. When I was getting ready to go trade my truck in, and then I was on Financial Friday, and then it said, hang on to your car. I didn't want to hear that. I could have just turned you off right there. You understand? But then I backed down. I pumped my brakes, and then thinking it through, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So why don't I go and pay off another car, versus getting another bill? And so it made sense to me. But oftentimes I think when people want what they want, it's kind of hard for them to reason with wisdom. And often they'll go ahead and do something, and they won't have what would be the word? They won't have the resilience to be able to last through that time. You know what I'm saying? Now you put yourself in this position, you should have waited, but you didn't. And so you went on and bought it, or you went on and did whatever. And now you're in this position. And then when that pressure start coming on, because you're really not at the level, you're really living beyond your means. And when that pressure start coming on, you don't have the resiliency to be able to fight through it. And so then you begin, just like what you just talked about, you begin to snap on people and begin to, abuse people with your words and your language and your attitude and stuff because of the stress, that you're dealing with. But if we can really begin to be honest with ourselves about where we are and really decide where we really want to go, then making that choice to pump our brakes on a move that we were going to make when it comes to buying something or whatever now, and give that money an assignment and learn discipline to allow it to get there, then we'll be much better off. I said, I've been thinking about, I said, well, what if I set me a vehicle fund and I start putting a little money up on the side there, and I get it to a place where I can trade my vehicle in, but pay cash for the other part, where I can have an upgrade on the vehicle and still not have a note,
Yeah.
So these Financial Fridays got me thinking that it's not that I can't have it, but I need to figure out another way to do it versus putting my family in a stressful situation when it comes to amassing more debt.
Yes.
Am I saying it right?
Yeah, you said it. I
Coach,
can use you as an example. Yes.
Coach, am I saying it right, Coach?
Yes, you said it right. Yes, you are saying it right. You are saying it right. It is putting us in a better financial situation. That is the best words to use. I can't stress it enough. Is when you're in a better financial situation, things trickle. And when you say stressed all out and snap on people, that is a real reaction that people have when they're really stressed out. When you are living paycheck to paycheck, you are stressed because you can see if anything happens, the money has to come in. I have to get paid on the day that I get paid. Some people get paid on Friday. Some people get paid on Thursday. But let that check be one day late. You'll see how stressed they are because they're looking for that money. And I was talking to someone else because I had the fun part about talking about this is that when we are open about financing, some people do ask questions and say, hey, what's going on? Like I was telling some people, we was having a question. I said, the craziest thing I've ever seen was somebody who was living above their means. We talking about 110% above what they have going on. And they was using their taxes as an actual paycheck, not to pay down any unknown expenses, not for any emergencies. They was using it as, okay, I'm gonna be this far behind. Then when I get that, when I get my my tax check, I'm gonna pay all this stuff off, and then I'm gonna be here. That's the easiest way to keep yourself stressful versus making those small adjustments. Excuse me. It's like some people have a Hulu account, a Netflix account. They have a Time Warner Cable, a Charter Communication account, a Comcast account. They got, and you like, are you watching all these movies? Are you watching everything? I mean, just get a free subscription to one, and you don't have to pay for all of them. But there are people who like, no, I need every room in my house to have a brand new super box that can do everything, and I need every room in my house to be able to talk to me back and forth. And I got a subscription for everything, and a guy like me is saying, why? Like what are we accomplishing by doing that?
Yeah.
If I'm at 100%, but I can watch all the TV I want to, but I'm at 100%. But then we still going to the movies. You got all the movies at the house. You got HBO Max, you got HBO Max Go, you got HBO Go, HBO Max or Cinemax, and you got it's a bunch of it's right. You can get Paramount, Peacock, like you can get your own subscription. Is just, is there a need? Mm-hmm. And the moment we start separating these needs from wants, and we make like a clear definition. I got a bunch of subscriptions to different types of entertainment. What entertainment do I actually need? I'm not saying eliminating all of them. I'm saying as you assign what you're going to assign, everything has a priority. I need to put money aside for a new car. Okay, it has a need. Now it has an assignment. Mm-hmm. I need to have my Netflix. Why? Because this is one show that I really love, and then this is one show that I don't love as much. Well, you make your priorities. Do you like Netflix more than Hulu? Do you like Hulu more than Peacock? Do Time Warner Cable, do Comcast, do they take precedence and all that stuff? These are things that we as a culture must understand, that this is how stress happens. Mm-hmm. The best thing I can tell you is that they prey on us. I'm telling you, man, that was the biggest thing that when I found out, when my eyes was open, that as a consumer, they prey on you. They prey on you to overindulge yourself. They prey on you to overcommit yourself. They prey on you to live outside your means. Because as much as you live outside your means, they're getting paid. And the moment that you start assigning your money, put your money on assignment, whether you know it or not, you are now paying yourself. You are now stacking all the responsibilities, all the accountability, all the authority is now in yourself, because you're not just shooting out money like an ATM. You're actually now they have to work for your business. Now they have to work for your understanding. Now it's not just the newest deal. It's what deal suits what I'm doing. And then that's how we change everything about what is being brought to us, how it's being brought to us, Because once we start assigning our money and we put accountability to what our money is doing, when people want access to your money, they have to present it in a way in which pleases you. And this is how we control our whole economy, our community, our culture. I hate to sidetrack that, but when people just understand, if everybody in our community drove a Bentley, that was like the number one car outside was a Bentley, we wouldn't have to request a Bentley dealership, because if everyone in this demographics drove a Bentley, like a nice, good Bentley, they'll put a dealership. They will literally put a dealership inside this neighborhood. Why? Because everybody drives Bentleys. The same is true about most consumerisms. If they see that we will spend anything that's offered to us, that's what they give us. They give us anything. Whether it's good or bad, they just give us anything. So I really do like the fact that you're telling people put the money on assignment. And now I'm saying the same thing, because I think those are the best words. Give each dollar an assignment, and then allow that assignment to fulfill what you have assigned it to do.
Yeah. Now, so with that being said, let's go back to the slide that you had last week with the spreadsheet, because that's one way of doing that, right? You know,
yes,
plugging in those numbers in there that'll give you a true dashboard, you know, of where you are, and actually be able to see what your money is doing, right?
Yes.
Because if a person is just getting money and putting it in their pocket, you know, or getting money and just, you know, one of the things that messed me up when they first came out with those, we used to call them time machines. You ever heard that before? That was an ATM. An ATM machine, when they first came out, it was called a time machine. That's what we used to call them, you know, and it was like TYEME or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And, the thing was, back then, and I'm dating myself, right? Back then, when I got my first debit card, now prior to getting a debit card, I would always have $3,000 or $4,000 in my bank account, you know, because I had a good job. At that time, I made more money than I could spend. You know, I was working for the Milwaukee Road, and I was a young guy just out of high school. Well, I came out of high school and went to MATC, and they recruited me right out of MATC before I even finished to come work for the railroad. And so, you know, I was breaking that money in, you know. But when I got that time machine, when I got that debit card, and I started using that debit card, I began to overdraft. I was always in like $100 or $200 in the bank, because I was using it and I wasn't really tracking what I was doing. You know what I mean? I go to the time machine and get $40, and then the next day or 2 days I go to time machine and get $50, or, you know, and I was using it like that, versus before I would have a certain amount of money in my pocket, you know, what I used to call it, I still call it a ghetto knot, you know, and I would use that. And then once that was at a certain place, because I could see that money. And when that got low, I could see that it was getting low. But when I started using the debit card and not tracking it, I couldn't really see it going low. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm saying, and I see that with people today. Oftentimes they have money come in, but it's going out in little increments. You know, just like you say, just make little adjustments. The money goes out in little increments, you know, nothing big. Go to the service station and get you some, my sister called them woo-woos and zam-zam. You know, that means some cakes, some hosted cake, and some, you know, some chips and popcorn to mix up, and a soda. And that ain't much. So that might be $20. And then you do that 2 or 3 times a week. You know, now you have $60, $80, and then, you know, you understand what I mean? So I think that chart that you was using, if a person could just learn how to use that chart, you know, we have to be able to increase our mindset. The Bible says in Romans 12. We have to renew our mind, and then we'll be able to prove, what is good. And so it's important that we begin to learn how to use these charts that you introduced to us, the budget chart. There might be some that still haven't added up their expenses and their income. It's when you get serious about it, it don't mean you have to change. You can still spend all your money if you want to, but the first step is knowing what's coming in and what's going out, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's go back and look at that chart that you showed last week, and let's walk through that again as a refresher. And because I'm the host and I wasn't here last week, I'm kind of cheating, so I get to get my own my walkthrough on the thing.
Nah, that's okay. I'm putting it up right now. Now, this is what everyone. Can you see it, Pastor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the example. Now, if they look at the bottom, we have the annual, which is the all-encompassing. But right now, I was just dealing with the example.
Okay.
And put the example over in the middle. There we go. Okay, gotcha. So when it comes to
some kind of put to the Zoom screen.
Oh, hold on. Is that better?
So now we're at the personal summary example.
Yes, this is just the example. Okay. We have January here, we have February here, and those are empty for everyone.
Okay,
but
I got you.
The example.
Now go back to the January.
Oh,
because you said now all of those are empty. So let's stay there for a moment. So okay. when a person gets this chart, it's empty there. So they supposed to go over here and fill in those blanks on the side.
Yes.
Where it say tithes, charity donations, and then total, government, insurance, retirement, total, rent, mortgage, groceries, we energy, student loan, car insurance, gas, cell phone, internet, total, and then office space, marketing, total.
Yes.
So
they don't have to fill in the totals. The totals are already filling in for them. So
then this is an active chart. So when you send this chart to them, when they plug the numbers in, it'll automatically total in those total lines itself.
Yes, it will.
All right. Look at that. We're gonna have to up the tuition on this class. I'm telling you, we're gonna have to double what they're paying for this class. Wow. Okay, that's awesome. Now that's awesome. So all they have to do is just plug the numbers in, and it's gonna give them the totals.
Yeah, and this is the basics. So let's say somebody brings in $2,000, right?
Okay.
That's what they bring in, $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's their first check. Their second check, $1,950.
Okay.
It gives you all of the estimates. So how much do you bring in? How much you give to tithes?
Hold on right there. So based on the categories to the left there, it's that God 10%, country 10%, live 40, 20% investment, safety 10%, accelerate 5%, sanity 5%. Once you put the total checks in there, it'll automatically give you those percentages, and that's the estimated.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you will know right away, looking at those estimates based on what you are spending, you can see where you should be, where the target is, and you'll be able to determine whether you over or under the target or how close you are to the target.
Correct. Yes.
So is that where the actual come in?
Yes.
On the chart? Okay, come on. Keep going. I'm getting ahead of myself. I got excited.
So somebody go to church, they give $450 to tithes and offering. They give another $20 to charity. Like Salvation Army is out here now. So you get $20 to the Salvation Army. Right now you're at 11% or 11.9%. Because it does the totals for you. It does all the totals, all the estimates.
So then you'll see that you're the target is 10% and you at 11.9.
Yes.
Okay. All
And the
right.
reason why I say targets is because remember, it's not a hard and fast rule that you can only give 10%.
Right.
It's just a target. Then that's when we got to go back. What did I say earlier? I'm like, what is God telling you to do? If God tell you, get a man of God a gift, if the God is telling you that the boys and girls need you, if God is telling you, do what God is telling you. I'm a big believer in just doing what God is telling. God made it very simple for us. Let's just do what God is telling us to do. Now, beyond that is government. Now, government has, when everybody look at their paycheck, the government typically breaks down everything they have in 3 different parts.
Okay.
It's the taxes, the insurances that you pay, and your retirement. All of that typically comes out of your paycheck prior to you receiving your money.
Okay.
So the government, let's just move the government at 10%. So we'll make it at 39.5. We'll put insurance because most people pay for their health insurance, dental, and vision. So that may be another $300.
Mm-hmm.
And your retirement is $100.
Okay.
So right now, for country, you're around 20%. It could be less, it could be more because you may not give your retirement. Or you may not have that much insurance. You may be a single person and you're only paying 120 for insurance. All of these numbers are adjustable based on your information that you have or the information that you are given to your employer. It does a self total here.
Mm-hmm.
It plugs the numbers automatically in there, and then it gives you a percentage.
Okay.
Now, this is where I had a lot of issues with a lot of people. Not because of the system, it's just because at 40%, many thought that I was saying be at 40. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the target is 40.
Right.
Because if your rent is $800,
Mm-hmm.
you got groceries, which is about $400. Let's make it $365. We Energies is $186. Some people have student loans, some people don't. If you do have student loans, they do have programs that will help you, but we'll put it at 45 for now. Your car loan, depending on your down payment, is typically between $100 to $400. So we can put this at 180. Car insurance, depending on your age, 150. If you do in and around mileage for gas, you're typically spending about $120 in the course of 2 weeks or the course of a month. And I left it open because some people would say Netflix is a living expense.
Okay.
Some people say Netflix is for sanity. I say Netflix is for sanity. But I did leave it open in case somebody wants to put an additional slot in there. Your cell phone is, in this day and age, is almost undeniably a need.
Right.
So cell phone, the internet is at $200. And there you go. Right now, your target is $1,500. Your living expense currently is $2,117.
Okay.
You are at $53.59.
53%.
Yes.
3.59%.
And I remember the reason why I'm letting it be known is because these are targets to hit. So if you're not at 40% in living and you're not at 10% for country and you're not at 10% you're giving to God, that makes you stable. But right now, your stability puts you at 78.53%. Mm-hmm. So that means that every check you get paid, almost 80% of it is just to keep you stable.
Right.
So when it comes to what's next, and that's always the question, well, how do I make it? Well, you give yourself, you don't have that much room left because you don't have that much space to give yourself. If you're at 80%, if you're if your living expenses at 80%, that means out of 20%, you got to invest in your dream or your vision. Out of that 80%, you got to create a safety net for yourself to take on any emergencies. Out of that, you got to take on, out of that smaller percentage, you got to accelerate yourself. And out of that smaller percentage, you have to create a bubble, which is going to keep you sane while you're doing this and keep you moving forward. And this is where we fall into it. Because let's say you invest.
So with that, so you had 78.53%. So that leaves us about 21% left. Could I take the 20% into the 21% and divide it up into those 4 areas? 5% investment, 5% safety, 5% accelerate, I'll be on time, and then 5% sanity, I'll be on time. Could I do it like that?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
You can. You can definitely do that. So if you was to say, I'm gonna do 5%, 197, 197, and there you go. Now I just want off the top of my head, so you can probably make that a little bit.
No, but that's good. That's good right there. And the reason I was asking that question is because sometimes when a person gets to that place and they look at, well, I'm at 78%, and then they'll feel defeated, and then they just say, well, since I can't get where I want to be, I'm just going to use the rest of that money any way I want to. But then if you really look at it, you still can make some progress in those areas, and you still got almost 2%, 1.5% left over. You know what I mean? Because you're only at 98.48%. So just so people can understand, you may not hit the target, but you still can start somewhere in those areas. You still could do something, just because most time I think what happens is a lot of people, they stop at the 78% and they'll spend the 20% that's left over, and they'll spend it in such a way that they don't know where it went. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But you still can give that money an assignment, whether it's large or small. And according to what James is saying, you develop discipline, and the more disciplined you become, you begin to shave some numbers off of, those your living expenses, and maybe knock another 3% off, and then that adds into, your investment, maybe, or your safety.
Yes.
Okay.
So if somebody was to look at this and do a deep dive, like, what does this look like? Well, if they look at just safety, when I was talking about it, safety is the difference between your living expenses. So if you're bringing in $200 or $197, that's about $200. Mm-hmm. If you do that for 10 months out the year, right, just 10 months, you can have your living right here. You can have that taken care of. And and with that being said, you still got $200 going to accelerating, to paying off your car loans if you have any, or your credit cards, or your outstanding credit cards if you have those. You still have $200 here to pay down or go for your sanity. So if you want to go out and eat some food, if you got friends celebrating, you still have money to do those things. You just got to be mindful that that's what it costs. Hey, guess what? I'm not finna go. We finna go to Texas de Brazil. It's $80 to get in. You may not want to go there. You may want to stick more to Applebee's or to a movie instead, and just don't order popcorn and candy. It's not that you can't do it. It's just that you have to be mindful of what you are doing.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Now go back to your right side of your page. over there where your expenses and your balances are. You was getting ready to share something about that side.
Yes. So let's say that you can find a way to reduce your income, or not correction, not reduce your income, reduce your expenses. So they have a lot of technology that's out now. So they have heating elements that they scan your house, and they can tell you when it's most optimal, which is not most optimal. And those things actually work in reducing your electricity. They also have groceries. They have many different services or assistance that can help with the cost of groceries. So if you was to reduce your groceries, let's say you reduce your groceries by $50, because the small increments make a difference. So instead of 436, you're now at 386, right? And instead of We Energy's been 186, you're now at 156. You went from 78 down to 76.
Mm-hmm.
And what we tend to do is we don't look at those percentages and say those are differences. They were, oh no, they're about the same, but they're not.
They're not.
Small increments is what makes us go under, and small increments is what pulls us out.
Okay.
Because if I was to utilize the difference of that, and I was to put more of that towards myself, so now instead of 197, I'm at $210, right? Or I got a little bit more, so let me go a little higher.
Well, if you divide that up because you want to put some more in your safety.
Yeah, I got you. There we go, right there. Let's do 110 in safety. And then let's put all of these at.
Well, accelerate, we already at 4.9. So we had our goal with accelerate and sanctity. So we want to put it in either the investor in ourselves. Now safety, that's our when we talk about having emergency funds, is that part of safety?
That's part of your safety.
Yeah.
So if we were to do that, we typically added $43 more onto our safety. Mm-hmm. And we essentially added another $90 onto our investing in ourselves. And when it comes to investments, safety is nice, but investing in yourself is what we are called to do, is invest in what God has had for us. But if you do it correctly and it start producing a residual income, mm-hmm. and that's the biggest part about investing. Investments over time produce another income.
Okay.
So let's say you invest $280, and after a month you get an additional $20, right? That mm-hmm. $20 automatically start producing more income that you can utilize. After 2 more months of producing 20, now you have an additional $40. Mm-hmm. Make sure I do this right now.
Yeah, 400. I was like, yeah.
But as you can see, how that additional $40 that investment is doing is gradually reducing the amount of money. Is reducing the percentages, and those are the things that if we was to utilize, how much are we getting back? And then as such, we got another 2 months. So this is by 6 months. Within 6 months, if you produce an additional $60, you're now at 75%, which means now you have 27%. You can either put more money into your safety, and this is a 6-month time frame. Mm-hmm. You can put more money into your safety. You can put more money into your investment.
Yeah.
And remember, I'm not saying it's going to yield $300,000. I'm saying it's going to yield $20. It's going to yield another $20. And those are the things that we must be mindful of, because if we're yielding that $20 and we're reinvesting in ourselves, we can yield another $20, which is improving our income. And over time, instead of us talking about every 2 months, think of the long scale. So over time, you have life events. That's why you have a safety net.
Mm-hmm.
Investments is still producing that 20, 20, 20. And then once you hit 16 months, which is about a year and a half, and I say 16 because if $280 produce $20, you give yourself another 16. No, you give yourself another 14 months. Hopefully my math is good. You give yourself another 14 months, which is a year and 2 months. So a little bit more than a year. And now you have an additional $280 that you
Right.
can utilize.
Yeah. And that's important too, because even like what you're talking about, investing back in yourself, you know, investing in yourself, you really can't estimate how much income or dividends that'll bring back to you. You know what I mean? Because when you invest in yourself, it gives you the potential to make even more in whatever you're doing as far as the investment that you make it in yourself. I don't think you're talking about investing yourself, go to the Bahamas and hang out at the beach, and that's an investment. I think that's part of the sanity thing right there, right?
Yes, that is part
But
of
then
sanity.
if you invest back into yourself and you're actually working that investment, whatever that is, it has the potential to bring in, undisclosed amount. What I
Yes.
mean? And,
Yes.
and that could actually turn into something that could take you off the job. It could turn into a full-time job. I mean, it has so much potential in that investing back in yourself. That was a huge piece for me a couple weeks ago when you brought that up, when we covered that, because I never thought about that. I always put myself on the back burner. I know I hear pay yourself first, but I would always put myself on the back burner. But then after you said that and I thought about it, I was like, yeah, let's say I write a book and I invest in getting the book printed, and I take those books and I sell them for $20 a piece, it's going to bring back not only what I invested in it, it's going to bring back 2 or 3 times that amount.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, so to invest in myself has the potential to take me to where I'm trying to go, versus if I just go buy some popcorn, or I just go lay out on the beach somewhere, or I just go buy me a new suit or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stories. There's one story that when I was thinking about investing in yourself, it's a good movie, but the movie had like a bad turn of events.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of investing in yourself. Now this is the way my mind works. So when I was thinking about it, it's a movie called Acrimony.
Okay.
That's by I believe Tyler Perry.
Slide down.
Huh?
Up your slide down.
Put the slide down.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. It's a movie called Acrimony by Tyler Perry.
Okay.
Now, if you saw it, it's good. If you didn't see it, that's also good. Because I'm not promoting the movie. I'm saying the plot of the movie. Mm-hmm. It was a man who built a water energy device. So it utilized air and water to produce unlimited amounts of energy.
Okay.
And he invested in himself. Now, the way he invested in himself, I'm not in agreement with. But his investment in itself produced a continuous income, so much so that he was able to give his ex-wife $10 million.
Okay.
Because when it hit big.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it took a while. It took years to do. But when it hit, I mean, this is not like the lottery. He's investing in himself over time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it hit, then you got $10 million. Another person who did this is a real person. His name is T.D. Jakes. Mm-hmm. He wrote a book called Woman, Thou Art Loose. He took his little bit of money that he had left, and he caught it little. He produced a book, and it caught fire. Mm-hmm. It just caught fire. It was its own firestorm. Woman, Thou Art Loose became its own movie, his own series. It became his own, like a woman's conference off of a book that he invested in himself. He took his money, he invested in the vision that God gave him, and when it exploded, it exploded. And when I say T.D. Jakes, I'm not talking about Bishop T.D. Jakes that everybody knows. He's been on TV. He was worldwide. We talking about Pastor T.D. Jakes in the Potter's House when they were just getting started, when they didn't have that many people. He didn't have that fame and notoriety. He wrote one book that changed the course of his trajectory. And that's why we have to invest in ourselves. We have to see where God wants us to go and run down that pathway. This formula allows us to have that runway. Because I would like to do what God is telling me to do. And in doing what God is telling me to do, being financially secure helps with the stress of being it. When Paul was locked up, people was funding Paul. Hey, Paul, I know you're in jail, but here goes some food. Here goes some money. We want to send our loves out. We want to send our letters out. They was investing in their man of God. And by doing that, Paul wrote a bunch of letters. He wrote the most books in the New Testament last time I checked. Yes. And it was because he had people funding him as he was feeding his vision. God told him to do this, and he was running with the vision God gave him. And as such, he was, even though he went through prison, torture, he was still doing what God told him to do, but financially he was taken care of. And he was able to present that to more than just one person.
Yeah, no, I think that's powerful right there. And it's definitely inspirational for me, because, I write, quite a few books, but I never thought about it from that standpoint and how, well, yes, I have, I think I might be trying to make my own formula, but I do believe that, one book can change my whole life, and I believe that people underestimate what they have. They may not write a book, but they can have one idea that can change their lives the same way. And oftentimes, because we don't value who we are, and really, like you say, take that deep dive. I heard you say that. Now, I don't know if the people out there understand what that means. Tell them what that means when you say take that deep dive.
What that means is that you gotta, when I say take a deep dive, I do mean take the essence of who you are. The essence, like who is that kid inside of you? What is God telling you to do? So you really got to dive deep. And the reason for that is because you got to have roots in what you're going to do. Your vision can't be something that you just thought of because it feel good. It got to be, God told me to do this. God gave me all the time, the talent, the abilities to nurture this. This is what I do.
Yeah.
And God is telling me to do this. So if God is telling me to do this, and God gave me the ability to do this, and he gave me the skills to do this, all the soil is there. It's right there in your hand. All the soil is there, and all you have to do is water it. God, tell me what to do. God, tell me where to go. God, tell me how to make this grow. And God will give you all the answers. You just got to do that deep dive for yourself. Grab what's ever inside of you and say, what is this? And for you as writing, for me, it's numbers. Like I can see myself doing numbers. And by doing numbers, I can see how I can help out my community. I can see where I can help out my culture. I can see where I can help out my brothers and sisters because I do numbers. That's what my mind, my abilities, my time does. It sees a lot of numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's important. That's so important because now, even with you and your numbers or me with my books and whatever the people out there, whatever they have, I think sometimes if we're not careful, we allow ourselves to get discouraged because we think it's a one and done kind of thing. You know what I mean? You do this, put in all that hard work, and then you put it out there, and I do all this research. I pull all of these different technology tools together to help me with my research, and I take it and I frame it all around my thoughts and visions, and I'm articulating whatever this book is inside of me, and I get this thing done. And to me, it's the greatest thing. This is a New York bestseller. But then a few people at the church purchase it, and then it go dormant, sitting on the shelves. And so then it could be easy to become discouraged and then say, well, I ain't gonna write no more. And so for some people, it may not be writing, but they're doing that they go through that same type of, and I'm using that as example because I'm not saying that's me. I've helped other people to publish. And so I think I'm on, maybe 36 books right now that I've published. And it's probably half and half, maybe, that I've done for other people that I've published books for, and then myself. But the point that I'm saying is, helping the people to understand this whole idea of little increments, and this whole idea of a process, and the whole idea of being patient. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
How can you speak to that? And I think we're almost out of time here, boy. We've been going.
Well, remember everything. There is nothing that God gave us that was instantaneous. Whenever God speaks to us, he always talks about us in seed form.
Mm-hmm.
Your blessing is seed form. Are you doing the work to cultivate the seed that's inside of you? Your blessing is in seed form. Are we doing the work to cultivate the blessing inside of us? And the biggest thing that we have to get beyond is the word no.
Okay.
No is nothing. No is close to nothing. Because if somebody said no, that just means they're not interested for right now. I can't tell you how many properties I tried to buy and the answer was no. Or that they said, well, you don't got the right income. I got income. No, you don't have the right income.
Okay.
The answer was no. It was just a flat no. Hey, guess what? You're not old enough. Your skin color ain't the right color.
Mm-hmm.
It was a no. It was a no. And I can't fight against a bunch of people that keep saying no, because if you don't want the money, if you don't want success, well, that's okay. Somebody else do.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I have experienced many no's for many reasons. And no's will always happen. Mm-hmm. Even from people that you love. When I first started, it was somebody that I loved, I cherished. I was like, we could do this together. He said no. I had the idea, and he said no, because he didn't see what I saw in myself. He didn't see it. And he said no. But you fast forward 15 years later, and now he's like, oh man, you really did really good for yourself. Yeah. It's because I endured the no. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wasn't the best 15 years ago. I had a good idea. It wasn't as mature as it is now. It wasn't as concrete as it was now, but it was there. It was certainly there in seed form, and it sprouted. Now I said, let's run with this. And now I can tell you, now I can tell you with all full passion. My passion didn't die out. My ways got refined. Mm-hmm. The formula that I'm presenting in seed form, it was just what I have coming in, what I have going out. That was it. That's the seed.
Right.
Then it sprouted into, well, how does this look? And where is this money going? And how does the small bits of money equal something else? So I can tell you, invest in yourself. And don't worry about it. No. Knows what happened. Knows what happened from people we love. Knows what happened from people we don't love. It's just a no. But what my biggest thing to talk about is it's just a no for now.
Right.
because once they see your tree sprouting, once they see all the vines going out, and they can see what you see. The biggest thing I can tell you is that Walt Disney, who created Mickey Mouse and all the other characters, they went to Walt Disney Land, or I think it was Walt Disneyland in Florida. I think it's called Land in Florida. They went there and they was presenting his wife with the key to Walt Disney World. And they said, we missed the fact, or wouldn't he be glad to see this? Walt Disney's wife said, the reason why you're here now is because he saw it back then. And that's what I want everyone to do. I want everyone to see their future now. Because when I speak to my kids, I don't speak to my kids of the struggles of now. I speak to my kids for the struggles for their future. I tell my daughters, you guys are princesses. You got to go for it, because you got to lead others. I let my brothers know, hey, guess what? We champions. Yeah. This is how we got to do this. I'm not speaking for the right. I'm not speaking for the right now. No, you in trouble. I'm speaking for the future. Hey, we moving. I need you to be in position. Right. I need you. Whatever you own, I need you. I need to have brothers with me. I need to have brothers doing what I'm doing. They don't got to be financial. They could be taxi cab drivers. Right. And they could be scaffolders. They could be investors. But if they're doing their God-given ability, and then they're intertwining their God-given ability with my God-given ability, and then my other brother got his God-given ability, we can all be in the same arena and not even compete against each other. Yeah. Because it's a world. 4 people from Milwaukee or 4 people from the Midwest, we don't have to compete against each other. We got all of New York. We got all of St. Louis. I got the whole South. Somebody got California. We got Canada up ahead of us. We don't have to compete against each other. We 4 brothers. We can come together and build something, utilizing each of our individual skills, and we're just intertwining ourselves. And we're doing what God has already gave us the ability to do. We just got to accept the no. Yeah. Accept that not everybody's going to run with us. Accept that not everybody is going to see our vision. But if everyone sees their vision, that's like jazz. It's like nice melodies. It's harmony. It's a lot of things in which you don't know until you hear it. Yeah. And then you know how sweet it is.
That's interesting you said that. You know, I'm just finishing up a book called The Power of Negotiation. And in the book of The Power of Negotiation, I captured the principles that I used and things that I learned about negotiation when I negotiated that, a $3 million property down to $750,000. And 2 chapters I spent in the book talking about handling objections, and being able to get past the no, and that you have a yes out there. And I even talked about, I couldn't remember the exact number, but I know it was approximately 5 times they told me no on the building that we have, and so that's so key what you're saying, that people understand, because oftentimes, they think everything is, on the first try, on the first walkout, and it doesn't, that's not how it is, you know what I mean? And you have to be able to see it today in order to be able to face the no. Oftentimes they can't take the no. In the book I talk about, if you're not careful, you will take it as personal rejection. And if you take it as a personal rejection, you're going to walk away from it. And so oftentimes people don't realize, until you really can see it now, you're not going to have the wherewithal to persevere or no. It's when you see it now, that's when you get that no, you don't receive that no, because you're not like, I don't care what he's saying. because once you see it, you know what I mean? You know it's out there,
Yes.
And so, yeah, what you're saying is so key. Listen, we out of time. We had man, this has really been good and it's been rich. And I know we haven't taken any questions today. I was kind of recapping and catching up, and we're ready to make a transition. But before we do that, on next week, we want you to do several things. One, we want you to make sure that you're writing down your expenses and writing down your income. Start there. If you have not started there, at least do that. And then number two, give this chart a try. Maybe you didn't understand everything he was saying about the chart, but give the chart a try. Plug those numbers in and get a look of where you are now. Just go in the columns on the right, plug those numbers in, and then look at where you are percentage-wise in those different categories. All right. And then thirdly, what I want you to do is think about the things that you've learned. If you have to go back and review some of the Financial Fridays, and write down your questions. We don't want to just, give you a whole bunch of information and, charts and graphs. We really want to help. When I talked to James before we started this, I felt his heart when it came to, how compassionate he was about helping people with finances. And so I just thought it was a great fit, because if you know me, I'm passionate about helping people. And so write down your questions. Let us try to help you. Let us try to help you. Write down your questions. And next week, we're going to spend time answering your questions, doing the best we can. If we don't know, we ain't going to make it up. I don't think either one of us have an issue with saying, well, I don't know. But I think both of us together are smarter than any one of us. And with some of the other people that chime in, that's, in the audience, we should be able to get you an answer. Now, it may not be an answer you want, because oftentimes it ain't what you want to hear. But, it's not always about what you want to hear. It's about what will work. All right. Now, if you didn't get the book, we released the financial book called The Pathway to Financial Freedom. And there we unveiled 7 P's to prosperity. And so we offering that to you absolutely free. I'm looking for it right now. I'm going to put a QR code on the screen, and you can just hit that QR code. And listen, if you don't have access or don't know how to use it, if you got a pen and paper, write this down. If you got a pen and paper, you can write this down. You can go to tinyurl.com/Dr. A.D. Burns money. Yeah, that's right. You heard it. Yeah, we're gonna be saying that. We're gonna call that bad boy in. James, we calling it in. A.D. Burns money. Dr. A.D. Burns money. Money coming to me now.
Amen.
So Tiny, tinyurl.com/Dr. A.D. Burns money. And you can get this Pathway to Financial Freedom, the 7 P's to prosperity, absolutely free. And also for those of you who've already gotten your book, what I'm going to do, I know, James, did you all put up a link last week for the chart?
No, I don't believe we did.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, if you use it, let me put the QR code on the screen. If you use this QR code, to get your free Pathway to Financial Freedom, get your free Pathway to Financial Freedom, unveiling the 7 P's of prosperity, we're going to also send you that chart. We're going to send you that chart that James went through today. Is already set up. All you have to do is plug in the numbers. So listen, if you're serious about taking control of your finances, write down your income and write down your expenses. You can go through your bills from this past month and total them up and get an idea of your expenses. You know, you have to add in there, your service station runs and gas and things of that sort. And of course, you can look at your checks or your bank account deposits to see what your income is, and then take those numbers and plug them into that chart so that you can get an idea where you are. And that can help you formulate some questions for next week so that we can help you get to a place of financial freedom. We're not trying to get nothing from you. We're trying to get you to a place of financial freedom. Amen. Amen. And so hopefully you have hit the QR code. You hit that QR code, and we're going to send you the Pathway to Financial Freedom. It's an ebook, absolutely free, unveiling the 7 P's to prosperity. And we're also going to send you that chart that James created that is plug and play. All you have to do is plug the numbers in there, and you can begin to see where you are in those areas of percentage. You have them on the left side of the screen. You saw the target percentages that we're looking at, and then you fill in those blanks as far as what you're spending and what's coming in. At the bottom on the left, it was you put in your income, and on the right side, you put in your expenses, and it automatically gives you your percentages of where you're spending that. So at least you know. Now, you don't have to change if you don't want to, but at least you know where you're spending your money at. All right. How that sound, James? Did I do all right on that one?
Yeah. You did good. You did good, Pastor. You did.
All right. Well, any closing remarks? Give us some closing remarks, and then we're going to go ahead and shut it down. And I'll look forward to next week. I'm excited to see the questions, to hear all of the different questions. And so next week is going to be about Q&A. And so questions and answers. So I'm really excited about that. James, closing remarks.
My biggest hope is that if you don't like it, just do it. As long as you're conscious of where your money is going, that's the key ingredient. That's the essence. How much I got coming in, how much I got going out. If you say, "Oh, this is," if the chart is too complicated for you, right? Plug in how much you spend. You don't have to break it down into, well, this is rent, this is groceries, and these are my taxes. You don't have to break it down anything. You can pick any plot of the chart and just type in spent $2,300 a day. 2 checks. This is my first check. This is my second check. The information will spit out the numbers. It was always spit out a calculation. You can always go with that calculation. The calculations are still there. So I want you to utilize this to the best of your ability, because there's many ways to get information. It's just, if we're on the same page, we can all see the same thing, or at least have the same perception of what we're seeing. So that's my biggest hope that I have going on.
and that's good. As we close, James, just the whole idea of people have doubts and skepticism as far as whether or not it'll work, and they're thinking about, okay, you telling me this, but will this actually work? What would you say to that?
The chart is numbers. The chart is merely numbers. If you say this would never work, you spoke it. I didn't speak it.
Okay.
If you say it'll never work, then you spoke it. The chart is not going to work for somebody who tells me the chart is not going to work, because in their heart is not designed to work, because they're saying, hey, this chart doesn't work for me. Well, guess what? It won't.
Okay.
If they confess, if they understand, and they say this can work for me,
Mm-hmm.
it will. I can't make any claims to a chart that will work. The chart has numbers. And as you put the numbers in, it produces all of the targets that is needed that are required for us to achieve our success.
Okay.
Now, if they say it don't work for them. But for the vast majority of people that plug in the numbers, they will see that it does work. And when I say vast majority, because people are in agreement that if you understand numbers, this is how you make real moves outside of luck. And since I don't believe in luck, I believe in understanding where you're going and then pursuing your vision. Plug the numbers in, see where you are.
Plug the numbers in and see where you are. And
That's it.
You know, it doesn't get no simpler than that, I don't think. You know,
I mean, okay, just to let you know, if they're at 110%,
mm-hmm.
then they just at 110%. I mean, I can't magically, the machine isn't going to spit out $1 million.
Okay.
If the people get on there and they lie and they say, I make $1.8 million, the machine isn't going to magically say, well, I can see what your bank account looks like. It's not. I mean, if you want to screenshot and tell everybody that you make $1 million, I mean, that's great. But I do want to make sure that that's that is lovely. Oh, I actually like the picture. I'm telling you, that's the new picture for me. That's
your new picture right there.
That's the new.
Did you check and make sure you had your marriage pictures?
Yeah, I got all those. They went over to the personal account.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's the biggest thing I can leave everybody with is just if you're honest, it'll produce an honest number. Okay. If you're not honest, it won't produce an honest number.
Okay.
If you don't know what to do, just put in your numbers.
Okay.
If you don't know nothing else to do, put in what you see your paycheck come in. If you're on a fixed income, then you know what your numbers look like. Plug in your numbers. And when I say plug in numbers, I'm not saying you got to get as detailed as this is.
Just take what you got and work with it.
Yes.
Work your way to that place. Yeah. Well, listen, we are out of time. And thanks again, James. What another awesome Financial Friday. And listen, don't forget to, hit that QR code and, get your free download. James, why don't you close us out?
Okay. God, we thank you for this time that we spent together. We thank you for being understanding and looking at us. Father, continue to look at our hearts. We review our actions and lead us to where we are willing to go. Father, we thank you for this day that you have made. And as we close, we rejoice and we are glad therein. Father, we thank you for everybody that are on the line. We thank you for everybody who put the work and effort in. And we thank you for your vision for this church and this ministry. In Jesus' name, amen, amen, and amen.
Amen, amen. All right, then. Well, we'll see you all on next time. You all be blessed. Good show, James.
Thank you, Pastor.